This is kind of
It's just
exciting.
nice to have someone to talk to, you know? Ever since I got put in charge of the Panopticon, people treat me different, like I'm crazy for wanting to work with altered items. People just don't understand the altered items like I do, you know? I don't want to brag, but it does take a very empathetic mind to connect with the items.
Doesn't
Still,
want
I
to
don't know why
brag.
people are making it so personal.
Right.
I mean, the teams in research handle paranatural materials every day, and no one thinks they're weird. Well, maybe that's not true. Darling is famous for being a bit out there, but when he's weird, it's charming. Altered items really aren't that frightening once you get to know them. If you figure out what they like or don't like, you know, what sets them off, then there's nothing to worry about. I guess at the end of the day, we're still just wild animals scared of our own shadows. We're supposed to be on the same team, but sometimes it feels like it's every department for themselves, like it's a race and we're all trying to be number one. If it is a race, though, I'd say Darling is a mile ahead of everyone else. He was Trench's golden boy for years, but that relationship has gotten pretty tense, or so I've heard through the grapevine. Not that I spread rumors, just, you know, people talk. Not me, though. I keep my nose to the grind. Too much work to do to focus on those kinds of things. I need to stay focused so I can get my work done and get home to feed Alfred.
He's just gonna talk forever,
Can't always
isn't
make
he?
it home for mealtime, so I have my neighbor check in on Alfred at 7 o'clock if I'm not back yet. She's very nice. Her name is Maria. She's older. She came to New York in the 50s to attend school and has been here ever since. She has a couple of kids. I met them at Thanksgiving. Big family. Very nice people. Anyway, she has a key to my apartment, and she gives Alfred his dinner if I'm not home. I'm gonna have to buy her a nice fruit arrangement as a thank you after this. I'm missing a lot of Alfred's meal times. She's probably gonna have to go to the store for more wet food. I'll have to remember to pay her back. Hold on, let me make a note. Pay back Maria for Alfred's food. Okay. Oh, one more thing. And buy her a fruit arrangement. All right, done. Are you a cat person? I don't think I ever asked. You seem like one, though. You'd like Alfred. He's very proper. Really carries himself well, you know? I named him after my favorite poet. Felt like a good fit. I got Alfred just before Sylvia died when I was at the... You know, I don't really remember where I got Alfred from. But, boy, those two did not get along. No. Sylvia thought she owned the place. Didn't like me getting in her way, scratched me more than once when I was just trying to move her food bowl. That cat was a real asshole.
Wow.
I'm realizing now that
That's
language was
kinda
not
harsh.
entirely, professional. You see, Sylvia didn't tolerate most people, or animals, or anything. And that's what I meant when I said asshole. I would never use that word about a person. It was just, hey, there's a light flashing on the console here. I gotta, check this out. I'll get back to you later.
Real smooth, Langston.
You know, I was in the investigation sector when it was evacuated. Well, not there. I was in executive because they have the best snack machines. You may think they're all the same because of that plain white packaging, but there's a difference. You know those thick ruffled potato chips? They're my favorite. All the machines outside executive carry those flimsy little thin chips. They have no texture. I may as well eat cardboard.
He's
Anyway, I
really
get back to
tackling
the
the
elevator and
important
they tell me the
issues,
sector is being evacuated. They wouldn't even let me go back in for my stuff. Can you believe that? I worked at that desk for years. I had photos on it. My favorite stapler, one of those good ones that could staple a 50-page report, no problem. A little cash, and some, personal recordings. But, yeah, they locked the whole area down tight, no one in or out, and then they march us all back to executive to interview everyone. I wasn't even there when it happened, and they were asking me if I noticed anything suspicious, if I saw anyone tampering with the containment cell and so on. Well, the only thing they learned was I prefer the ruffled chips to the non-ruffled ones. Better mouthfeel, like I said before. And then, after 3 hours of questions, they recommend we all go for trauma counseling. I was like, no thanks, I have my own therapist. I know I could use the word therapist and save a few bucks, but I worry they're gonna put anything I say in a file somewhere. A bit paranoid, I know, but I work for a secret government organization, so yeah. I stopped going a few years back. To my therapist, I mean. She said that a lot of my issues stemmed from a negative outlook. Of course, I can't tell her anything about what I do, so I just had to sit there and nod. I kept waiting for that big aha moment. You know, where I realized that my need for approval stems from my dad or something? Turns out therapy doesn't work like that, so I stopped going. TV really gives you a skewed understanding of these kind of things. She did help me realize that I'm processing stress in an unhealthy way. I try not to carry all that around with me anymore, but it does stack up. Hard to just say no thank you to the anxiety buzzing in your head. One really helpful thing she had me do was find a creative outlet. I started doing some experimental music/poetry that I think was really ahead of its time. This was years back. I'm cooking up some pretty new sounds these days. Think My Bleeding Clock meets Sylvia Plath.
I
Do
am
you play
so
any instruments?
curious.
Well, I can
Yet
see you
so
being
concerned.
a guitarist, maybe a bassist. It's funny, I played the tuba in high school band. My favorite was In the Hall of the Mountain King. Tuba didn't get a lot of spotlight in most of the songs Mrs. McKinley chose, but Mountain King was my time to shine. Bum 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 bum. Ah, classic. I've moved on to less mainstream instruments now, but the tuba will always be a part of me. What were we talking about before? Right, the evacuation. Yeah, I heard afterward that the Hartman specimen had gotten loose and killed some staff. They had me digitizing records in some dark corner of the sector, so I didn't know a whole lot about the Bright Falls investigation at the time. It's a strange case. Most AWEs are one and done, but Bright Falls has pretty regular flare-ups. 3 incidents since 1970 when we first started tracking it. I got really interested when I heard Alan Wake was involved with the latest occurrence. I'm a huge Wake fan. I love the Alex Casey novels. That over-the-top hard-boiled detective thing is right up my alley. They're making a
Wake?
movie of the series.
It
But the
can't be
guy
a
who plays
coincidence
Casey
that I
doesn't
saw
have
him in a
enough
motel.
gravel in his voice, you know? I
Was he
remember being
drawn
so
here by the
pissed when
investigation?
Wake killed off Casey in the books. It's not a huge surprise, though. Wake sounded like a bit of a dick. Drank too much, fought paparazzi. The tabloids even said he was an abusive husband. So, yeah, troubled artist and all that. Apparently, there were chapters of an unfinished manuscript floating around after Wake disappeared. People say they're cursed, which is a very discriminatory term against altered materials, by the way. The forums all call the unfinished book Departure because Wake kept saying it would be a departure from his previous work. I found some pages that are supposedly the real deal on the internet. It's pretty dark stuff. He was going full horror, which makes sense since he used to write for Night Springs, but I would have preferred if he did something a little lighter. I've always said Wake had a great instinct for humor. Hey, did you know we own Night Springs? Yeah, the Bureau bought the rights after the original series ended. I've sent some story suggestions to the production team, but apparently they are not accepting pitches at this time. Typical. I'd be a great addition to their team, right? Huh. I didn't see you nod. Is this thing not on? Let me
Oh,
check.
it's definitely on.
Okay. Oh, the wire's down here. Huh. Oh, looks like it should be working. Hello? If you can hear me, shoot something. That was inconclusive. You shoot so often, it's hard to know when it's intentional. There also could be a delay on this video feed. Maybe the system just needs a reboot. This is a good opportunity to use a restroom anyway. Stay safe, ma'am. You guys are going to escort me, right? Okay, good.
Okay, this room is really intimidating and all, but I know my rights. It's not a crime to try and get a book signed.
Making unauthorized contact with a dangerous paranatural entity is indeed a Bureau offense, Mr. Langston, and can be prosecuted as such.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. Listen, this is being blown way out of proportion. All that happened is I heard Dr. Hartman had been brought in, and since I'm a huge Alan Wake fan, I thought it'd be cool to get a copy of The Creator's Dilemma signed. That's a book that Hartman wrote about.
We know what it is.
Okay, good. So yeah, I was just looking to fill out my Wake collection. I certainly didn't know Hartman had turned into some kind of shadow zombie.
That's a completely inaccurate description.
Whatever, listen, I'm just a desk jockey. I sort papers, do data entry, that kind of stuff. Don't come down on me like this. I made one mistake. I mean, I see people break the rules all the time and no one is pulling them into dark rooms to yell at them. Yesterday, Dave Gleason and his crew were talking to that empty spacesuit and laughing their heads off.
We're letting you off with a warning, Mr. Langston. But this is going on your record, so one more screw-up and our next chat won't be so friendly.
Great. That is just great to hear, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, is there any chance I could get my copy of The Creator's Dilemma back?
Get out.